Hi, welcome to Richland Community College's machining lab. I want to go over real quick the parts on our Emco manual lathe here. This is an Emco Super 11CD lathe. It's a nice small tool room lathe that does a lot of work. It's very used in a lot of tool rooms and used to cut a lot of parts. You will be getting familiar with this machine and how to do some manual lathe parts on it. So first off, we're going to start out with some of the basic parts to this machine. So we have the headstock. So now the headstock of the machine contains the machine guard. So it also contains what we call the spindle. So this is the spindle. Right now we have a 3-jaw chuck that is mounted on the spindle, but your headstock also contains all of the levers for your speed selection, which is the RPM of the spindle, and your feed rates here with those knobs. All of that is contained in the headstock. Now, behind the controls here on the headstock, usually this is a gearing system or a pulley type of belt and pulley system to engage that and make your changes as far as your speeds and feed control. So that's all the headstock. Now, moving on, so if we have a headstock, we also have a tailstock here as well. So the tailstock is a very important part of a manual lathe. Right now we have a chuck, a drilling chuck attached to the 3-jaw, but we can put live centers and dead centers in here, as well as the chuck as well to accomplish drilling operations. Live centers and dead centers would be put in the tailstock so that we can do what we call turning between centers as well. So you need to get to know and be familiar with that. Now, we call this whole part right here is referred to as the carriage. Now, your carriage has lots of things going on with it. So we have a tool post up here that holds our tool holders and our cutting tools. So, and this is an example of one of the tool holders that we would have that we would need to be using, and a cutting tool that's on there. Attached, as we kind of go down from here, from the tool post, we get to what we call the compound rest. Now, the compound rest is called the compound rest because we can sit this where it is either at 90 degrees to the traverse of the machine or parallel. So we can kind of make this either perpendicular or parallel, and of course we can also change that at a variety of different angles to establish that when we have to cut in and maybe machine some tapers or do some other types of machining that's not just straight turning and facing. So we have the compound rest. Below the compound rest is what we call our cross slide. That gives us movement going back and forth this way, more or less what we refer to as the x-axis on a lathe. So down below that, this part here is referred to as the apron of the machine. The apron of the machine is where our handle is to move in what we would refer to as the z-axis. So, and of course it also gives us our automatic feed rates here as well. The compound rest sits on what we call the bed of the machine. So, and the bed of the machine has ways, what we refer to as precision ground ways. That's very important to a lathe to make sure that this is a nice rigid machine that is also very accurate. So the carriage and the tailstock both rest on the ways that are part of the bed of the machine. So right here we have what we refer to as our chip pan. The chip pan, of course, catches all of our chips. Chips might be in the form of a nice number 6 or number 9 curl, which is what the ideal chip is, or they may be long and stringy, which is what we typically want to try to avoid. So that's called our chip pan. On this particular machine, we also have our directional control on our RPM, so this gives us both clockwise or counterclockwise movement and rotation on our spindle, and we also have 2 gear positions here. So we have basically a high gear and a low gear that we would turn on into this, that would also be tied in over here to our speeds as well. And then of course right here is the emergency stop. So those are the component parts right now that you need to learn and need to know how to identify on our Emco manual tool room lathe.